Dan Lanning expects Dylan Raiola to stick, even though he is sitting behind Dante Moore, and we have never seen more movement in college football ever at a time when it's been easier to move ever, and with the new adaptation of the 5 for 5. Yet, he's given good reason for why he believes Raiola is around for the long haul. Let's talk about why he believes that after the bumper. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. If you're into that, join the more than 218,000 subscribers to Adapt and Respond, a college football podcast. You can also catch us on Apple and Spotify if you so choose. And, well, I hope you choose, as we are heading into preseason in full strength with football being played at the end of this week, the Hall of Fame game we all look forward to, but also college football is only about 3 weeks away. And now that we have even more volatility in college football with the 5 for 5 rule and a judge in Colorado declaring that all the 2022 high school seniors can come back for another year, and you're adding another year for the players that are already in college football, I thought it was interesting that Dan Lanning had an interesting take on why Dylan Raiola is going to stick for Oregon. For those of you that don't remember, Raiola entered the transfer portal after an injury at Nebraska, starting quarterback, and it really wasn't working out. They thought they gave him enough in 2025 to go compete with. They won enough games to go bowling, but they did not win enough games to even remotely compete for the college football playoff. And it was getting clearer to those around that this marriage was not working out. And that's not as shocking as it might seem, because while Raiola is, well, Husker legacy, and his father was an All-American center and his uncle was the offensive line coach, he had shown that he's not really that good at sticking, right? First, he committed to Ohio State, flipped to Georgia, and then right before signing day decided to flip to Nebraska with a poem that ill-timed at the time and feels ill-timed now. But he did start 22 games for the Huskers, started as a true freshman, 4,800 pass yards over 2 years, 31 TDs, 17 picks. Not great, not terrible, but he is a luxury as a QB2 for anybody, because you have a guy who started games and a guy that you think can steady the ship if your starter goes down in Dante Moore, a guy that some people believe will be the number 1 draft pick in the 2027 NFL draft with good reason. Short of the game against Indiana last year, he looked good all year, and there are those that are willing to stand on the table for him at number 1. Jeremiah Smith, I think, is going to be first off the board, but that's just me. Arch Manning will be there at the end. We already know people think that Dante Moore is that good, and then we'll see, right? What do they think of Sam Levitt? What do they think of Darren Mensah? On and on it goes, right? To say nothing of how many players that found out that they can play another year of college football can be rostered before the season starts, and there's still places to go there. And that also means that a guy like Raiola gets you another year, right? Which is really a boon for Oregon if they can get through this one with Dante Moore and hand the reins to Raiola for the next 2 years, right? Now, that redshirt year doesn't even matter anymore. So he'd sit and still have those 2 years as a starter. But Lanning had been asked at Big Ten Media Days, what he thought about the prospect of Raiola leaving Oregon to go play somewhere else, maybe for a bigger bag. He said, "I think there's always a looming threat, but not with Dylan. I believe Dylan chose Oregon knowing in advance what it looks like at Oregon. He wanted to sign up for an opportunity to be with us. We were transparent throughout the process, and there's a great chance that Dante could be back. Dylan has done an unbelievable job changing his body, working really hard. He has an unbelievable talent, a smart player that has the opportunity to get exposed to our system. You're only as strong as all your players. You need everybody to be a part of that. Dylan is a big part of the success we'll have this season, as well as every other quarterback in that room. I'm going to disregard that last part because I just don't believe you. It's Dante Moore's team. And I think there was an interesting nugget in there that a lot of people overlooked, that Lanning said there's a great chance that Dante could be back, which is getting back to that part where we're asking, would Dante Moore lead this time around? Because he could have been a first-round pick, probably is a first-round pick in the 2026 NFL draft. I mean, I could just as easily see him going to the LA Rams and not Ty Simpson had he been in the draft. And he said, look, you don't get to go back to college, right? Why not stay there as long as you can? Which, again, brings it back around. Would you rather play another year at Oregon if you're still playing at the level that he's playing at, and maybe make twice as much as you would as a second-round pick, or just be able to pad the bank account until you go to the NFL draft, come around for the 2028? And if that's the case, is Dylan Raiola willing to sit another year behind Dante Moore? Now, nobody can really project for injury. That's why when we start talking about people's schedules, I'm always hesitant, because yes, we can tell you that a schedule looks difficult, and then Penn State, who's the number 2 team in the country, is a dumpster fire and fires the head coach in the middle of the season, which means that every Penn State game left on the schedule for everybody else looks a lot weaker now. You also have guys that project to be, Heisman Trophy caliber players earlier in their year, and then they suffer an injury like John Mateer, and you got to have the backup in there. Or you got a guy that is going to be your starter and was plug and play in Austin Simmons. He has an ankle injury. Trinidad Chambliss shows up and turns into a Heisman caliber player, and it's his football team, and Austin Simmons goes into the transfer portal. All these things are possible. So I think the best thing that Oregon did was make sure they got 2 guys that they think can quarterback for their team and not have a tremendous amount of drop-off. I do believe that Dylan Raiola has a lot of talent. I don't believe that he has utilized that talent well, but I didn't believe that about Dante Moore at UCLA, right? He went to Oregon. He sat behind Dylan Gabriel. He came out slinging the football like a 5-star, which is what Dylan Raiola was coming out of high school as well. And if anybody knows how to navigate this particular era, I think it is Lanning, who has been doing a really great job of continuing to recruit out of high school. And his mantra has been the same. If you are good enough, you're old enough, meaning DeCorian Moore, come on down, right? And he's going to keep doing that with guys. If they can play right away, they're going to play right away. And I think if Raiola showed that he was a better quarterback than Dante, maybe you put him in there. Perhaps. I think that's the thing. But I also think it's going to serve Dylan Raiola so well to just sit this year, because it served Dante so well to just sit that year. And then we'll see where it is come the end of this season, right? In which case there might be some decisions that might be made. But right now, it is very telling to me that Dan Lanning believes Dylan Raiola is going to be a Duck for the long haul. And I think that only bodes well for the Ducks in the future.